Hey guys, tonight I think I'd like to talk about policy configurations, understanding CIS benchmarks and NIST, and what they actually mean from a security standpoint. Generally speaking, they are ways of infrastructure security based off of your desktops, your servers, applications, or any other integrated configurations in your Windows operating systems. That said, the most important portion of this is the lockdown of user accounts. And I'm going to give you a little example as to why that is. So if you have a policy configuration currently set on your infrastructures where you still have local administrators on your laptops and desktops, you're wasting your time. Any of those policy sets, policy configurations, without any delegated access controls set in place where maybe you block the ability for these users to get to registry, block these ability for the users to get to the group policy location, or you're not running the policy configurations to encrypt your data store directories on your local machines where the policies are still accessed, the end users still have free roam to make the changes and do what they want. And I'm going to show you why that is. So if we look at even the most simplest, which is the removable devices policy, these are usually the policies that are in place to stop people from burning CDs or have the ability to connect a USB thumb drive to your machine and download files or upload files from their USB drive to the machine. So I'm going to actually walk you through how a person with administrative access would have the ability to do this, even if group policy is defined not to allow them to do this. So for this lab, what we're going to do is we're going to look at three items, which is command prompt as administrator, the registry as administrator, and the local group policy, just for the sake of testing and showing it as an example, as a local administrator. So the first thing you're going to want to do to actually recreate this lab is make sure you have your policy configured. So in your policy configuration on your domain controller, it's going to look similar to this, but obviously this is local, this is machines in workgroup mode. I don't have the ability to do this on my domain. I have everything actually locked down. But in the computer configuration, administrative templates, system, and then removable storage access, we're going to look specifically for all removable storage classes deny all access. Now this policy should exist in a 2019 server, 2022 server. In 2016, I believe it was a little different where you had to go through the individual configurations, which is a little more of a hassle for the end user, but all in all, still works the same. So for the sake of this, we're actually going to just highlight this location and not make any changes yet, and we're going to go to the registry. And in the registry, we're going to go look specifically for HKey local machine, software, policies, Microsoft, Windows. And in Windows, we're going to look here and we're going to notice that we don't have the current configuration for all removable storage. So what we're going to do is we're going to just, for the sake of argument, click on refresh. And we're going to notice that we still don't have this listed in here under the refresh. So what we're going to do is go back to the group policy and we're going to go to this remove all classes, this denial access, and we're going to edit it and we're going to enable it and click OK. Now we're going to go back to the registry here and we're going to actually do another refresh. And in the refresh, you're going to see here that we just created the removable storage devices denial access with the key of 1. So you would think in a general configuration, if you change that to all zeros or change it to 2 or one of the other variables, it'll actually stop that policy. But in reality, if we edit this again and we do not configured or disabled, it doesn't really matter, and we go back in here and we do a refresh, we're going to notice that that folder is gone again. So the actual way to get rid of that is actually just to delete the folder. Now, the thing is if you have group policy, obviously group policy on a computer configuration is going to pull, so it's going to be on the fly, and it'll randomly just apply throughout the day depending on what your policy configuration is set for your threshold. But as an end user, all I'd really have to do is disconnect my network cable, open up command prompt as admin, and we're going to turn this back on just for the sake of argument here. Enabled. Okay. We go in here. We're going to see refresh. Sorry. We have removable devices. We have the denial access. Okay. So we're going to go back over here to the system. And we're going to close this because it doesn't really need to be open. And we're going to do cd group policy, one word. We're going to do DIR, and in here we're going to see GPTINI, machine, and user, and likely in a basic network configuration, if you don't have your encrypted data store, they would also see the data store folder. This machine, again, is in workgroup mode, so you don't get a data store folder. If you have an encrypted data store, you don't get a data store folder. This likely would still work, but it's going to be more difficult for the end user to perform this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just delete the GPTINI file. That's going to delete the controls. So the configurations inside the GPTINI is the cache from the data that is read from machine, user, and data store. And I'm going to remove the directories of machine. And remove the directory of user. And then you would typically remove the directory of data store. And then hit enter, but obviously, again, workgroup mode, it's not going to exist. Once that's done, again, network cable disconnected, ran these commands, went into the registry, located this particular key, it still exists even after the deletion. But if I go in here and I actually delete this key, yep, and now I reboot the machine without the network cable connected and use cache credentials to get into the machine, I now have full access to my local USB again. Because what I've done is I've circumvented the policy. I have local administrator access, and at that point I have access, I have keys to the castle. I can do what I want on my machine. The audit reports may get it if you have advanced auditing turned on. However, if you don't, and you have the out-of-the-box configured audit settings set for Microsoft Windows servers and group policy, you would never really see that this took place. If you have third-party software that monitors it, you may be able to see it that way, but otherwise you have no idea that this actually took place. And that's why no matter what you do on your configuration for group policy, if you give local administrative access to the machine, it makes these policies pretty much worthless. Hopefully this was insightful and helpful for anybody that's currently working through a NIST or a CIS benchmark to understand specifically what they're going to have to do with the end users before they go through this process. Otherwise, it's really pretty much worthless to go through it. It's one of the main things in the POAMs, I believe, for the compliance regulations to actually do this. And I know auditors they'll flag it immediately unless you have realistic reasons why it has to exist. Delegated access controls is your friend. If you guys need any more information, like I said, like and subscribe, and I will provide videos as they come up. Hopefully you guys found this helpful, and have a good night.